What's going on, guys? Today we're talking about some good deck profiles we saw from over the weekend. This article was written by none other than Ren the GOAT, here on YGO Pro Deck. A lot of ads, though, on this website, but that's okay. You can get the Moto G. I'm not sponsored by Moto G, though. I must say that as well. But this is a Biz Shark, so kind of to be expected. A deck like this is going to be floating around, no pun intended, because of the new set that just came out. This was piloted by Francisco Osorio, who got top 16 with this. And in fact, if you want to check out Francisco talking about their deck, here's the YouTube video. This is exciting. Whoa! Wow, what an intro. Okie dokie.
Bueno chicos, bienvenidos. Hoy
It's in
día
Spanish.
estamos...
So if you know Spanish, you're going to be in a good spot. But anyway, let's just jump right into the deck profile. I'm trying to see. This was the South American Championship, Francisco Osorio. Team Infinite. Okay, that's what I was looking for. On YouTube. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Starting with, of course, 3 copies of the beautiful Princess. 3 copies of Abyss Shark. 1 copy of a Lantern Shark. 3 copies of Buzzsaw Shark. 1 copy of Right Hand Shark. 1 copy of Silent Sea Nettle. 1 copy of Crystal Shark. 3 copies of Tenny Spirit, probably because it's the water one. Shintana. 3 copies of Silent Angler, as is tradition. We've seen this one sort of take center stage over a card like, let's say, Aqua Spirit, for example. Just being able to bring this card out regardless of what's in your graveyard. 1 copy of Instant Fusion. That is it for the non-hand trap monster lineup, though. So a pretty standard Shark deck, I'd assume. I don't really know the Shark archetype too super duper well, but that's why we're covering this deck. You know, I could be talking about Mystic Mind, Sky Striker, or Sword Soul, but we've all seen 80,000 of those deck profiles. So just a bit of a different kind. I say different because I think we are going to see a lot of Shark decks in the near future, but still a bit of a different deck profiles. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, 3 copies of Effect Veiler. They are running 3 Infinite Impermanents as well. You know, Ghost Bell, even Ghost Ogre, DD Crow. Those are some really good hand traps right now. But I do think that Effect Veiler, Imperm, and Ash are the best ones right now. Just because there are so many monsters that do get hit super duper bad by the Effect Veiler or by the Infinite Impermanence. And there's so many cards that get hit by the Ash Blossom. I think every deck in some way, shape, or form gets hit by Ash. So it's just a great card. 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. 3 copies of Forbidden Droplets. Interesting they're running Prosperity instead of Desires. We do see multiples of like Bahamut Sharks, and so it might make sense. This guy's in here too, so maybe it makes sense. But I think Desires would be an interesting thing here. But Prosperity is still probably the best draw card in the game right now, which is why it's also the most expensive one. But 1 copy of Foolish Burial, 1 copy of Called By as tradition, 3 copies of Gozen Match. As you notice, they are all waters. And 3 Infinite Impermanents, like I mentioned previously. But that's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, like I said, 2 copies of Bahamut Shark, 2 copies of Toad. I believe the OCG, now it was because of Splice, but I believe the OCG just banned Totally Awesome. And the fact that this card still brings this card out, it's gonna be interesting to see if Totally Awesome gets hit again. Like, at least in the TCG. I think Totally Awesome did go to 1 at one point, and it came back. I might be thinking of the OCG again as well, but any deck that has ran water of any way, shape, or form, like Gishkis, Ice Barrier, Mermails, Atlantean, Aqua Actresses, I mean, literally, you name it. We could go all the Shark, like what we're seeing right here. Not only is the deck running Totally Awesome, but in most cases, their best play is Totally Awesome. No pun intended. And listen, it's a good card. It's had a great run, but it's just an Omni Negate that takes, and Omni Negates that take are kind of really good. You add on to the fact, by the way, that it's also a monster reincarnation for water monsters, and it's just like this card's insane. Like this card's absolutely insane. So it might get hit on the ban list sometime soon, but for now we can abuse it if we can. One copy of number 4 Stealth Kraken. I mean, it's been around for a while, and I think to my knowledge, it hasn't been relevant since Paleozoic, um, 60 card Paleozoic. So that's why this card's kind of, everybody's been kind of cool with it. I know the Ice Barrier deck with Halka was running this card too. That deck was bad. So, you know, maybe this card's a problem, maybe it's not, right? Like I said, we do see number 4 Stealth Kraken. It's another newish card. And then 2 copies of Stealth Kraken Sprawn. Um, 1 copy of Dweller, because, yeah, obviously. 1 copy of Nash Knight. If you aren't aware of this, it has a secondary effect where all water monsters you control gain 500 attack if it has material attached to it that was originally water. You don't. It doesn't usually come up because a Dweller is just. It's like Baguska Dweller are like neck and neck as far as the best generic rank 4s. Even though we don't see Baguska in this deck, we see number 101, we see number 59, but we don't see Baguska. Number 81, I think, is what Baguska is. Um, but we usually see those 2 cards in those type of decks, like rank 4. If you can make a rank 4, you make Dweller, right? But just remember that if there's a water monster attached as material for Abyss Dweller has 2200 attack, and all other water monsters, Totally Awesome included, gain 500 attack. And all of a sudden, Totally Awesome at 2700 attack as an Omni Negate that takes. Bahamut Shark has got 3100 attack. Silent Angler, it's got 1300 attack. So maybe it doesn't affect that card as much. But the fact of the matter is, just be aware of that if you're playing, especially IRL. Like, obviously, if you're playing like YGO Pro or Master Duel, it'll do it for you. But if you're playing on Dueling Book or in real life, you might end up misplaying just because you think that this card, or that's a not bad example. This card's got 1500 attack when in actuality it has 1800 attack or 1900 attack, if I'm good at math. Or 2000 attack, actually. No, neither of those were right. 2000 attack. So just be aware of that type of thing, right? Like I said, 1 copy of Nash Knight, 1 copy of number 101 Silent Honor Arc. I would be curious to see why they picked this one. I know that Honor Arc is solid, but back when like this card was relevant, the thing that made this card fizzle out of the meta, and it could just be in here because it's water, but this card's not water, right? And this card's good. We'll talk about this card in a second, but the only point that I was trying to make is that the thing that fizzled this card out of the meta was Castel, the Skyblaster Musketeer, because it's just kind of it's a better form of spot removal because they both target, but instead of it getting attached and then eventually going to the graveyard, it gets shuffled back into the extra deck. It does have the secondary effect where it can't be destroyed by battle. I'd just be curious to see why they're running number 101. One number 59. This card does say while you control other cards, this card's unaffected by card effects. Once per turn, you get detachment material, destroy as many cards you control as possible. This card gets 300 attack until the end phase. So it's a neat card. I don't really think it's the best thing I've ever seen. But you know, it's like it's a 50-cent generic level, or generic rank 4, so it's pretty solid. Obviously, we're running 1 F-Zero, and the F-Zero that we use to summon that F-Zero, obviously. 1 copy of AA Zeus, and of course, 1 copy of Mud Dragon of the Swamp for our instant fusion target. It is a level 4 water monster, which makes it even better in our deck. For the side deck, we do see. I don't know why I said our deck. I guess you know, Francisco's deck is all of our decks, right? 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, 2 copies of Crossout Designator. Interestingly enough, I actually don't hate this in the side deck. You know, you can see going second. What is Crossout really gonna do? Like, unless they're like let's say they're playing Skill Drain or like Anti-Spell, you chain Crossout, banish Anti-Spell, but I don't know. But going first, I could see this, and you look like, I mean, the red reboot is technically going second card. Evenly matched is technically going second card. But there's a lot of trap cards, so you know the deck can go first. Obviously, with the main deck goes in match, but there are cards like Forbidden Droplets, Ash Blossom, Effect Failure, and Imperm, which are board breaking cards, or at least going second cards. Whereas D Barrier and Judgment, those are really good going first cards. But like I said, 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier, obviously, 3 copies of Evenly Matched. Like I said, I've never loved this card because it does skip your battle phase, but it is a better version of Lightning Storm. Um, the thing is, too, um, you know, Sword Soul doesn't get hit too badly by Evenly Matched just because they can say, okay, I lose all my cards but my level 8 monster, right? And I only lose about 3 cards. I still have 5 cards in hand, right? Braided Despia, it's like, okay, I'll just, you know, end on Mirror Jade and I'll banish all my other cards. I only had a couple other cards anyway. But we do see a deck like Adventurer Theron, Punk taking over, and that deck has humongous boards. So if you're able to play around a couple of the negates, get to evenly matched, and completely break their board, you're gonna be in a good spot. And Judgment's a great card. Judgment, I believe Judgment was banned because it was just getting used in everything. And then it was at 1 for a while. And now that it's at 3, it does really kind of see its play everywhere. However, I think we do see it more in the side deck instead of the main deck. Now, um, for the next deck we're going to talk about, it is going to be a rival Salamangreat. This article is also written by Renren. And yeah, this was piloted by Azid. So sorry about this, Azid. Diekheim. This was at the United Kingdom National Championships. This was a top 32 deck profile. This is what we're looking for. J.Y. Sharif. Sheriff? Well, Sheriff's got 2 F's. I don't know. J.Y. Sheriff. If you go to his deck profile, you can see this.
Yo, what's good YouTube? It's your boy JY. We're here at the UK National Championships
Yes.
2022
I love the British accent.
with my boy Azad.
That's me.
He got top 32.
I love the British accent. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Obviously, you can check out the channel to get Azad's impression of his own deck, right? But without further ado, it's a Salamangreat deck profile, so I had to take a look at it. As we got 1 copy of Salamangreat Gazelle, obviously, 2 copies of Jack Jaguar, 1 copy of Falco, 3 copies of Spinny, 3 copies of Foxy, 3 copies of Flame Buffalo. I've seen a deck floating around of Salamangreat with 3 Lady Debugs and no Flame Buffalo. I understand the deck, and it's been topping too, right? So, you know, it's got to be doing something right. That's never correct. Flame Buffalo, aside from Flame Buffalo's effect, Flame Buffalo is a level 3 fire monster. And the beautiful thing about Flame Buffalo is that you can use it for Sunlight Wolf. You can use it to make Salamangreat Baylings. You can use it to make Heatleo. You can use it to make Mirage Stalio. You can add it off of Sunlight Wolf. There are so many interactions that Flame Buffalo is good with. On top of the discard 1 Cyberse monster, and if you do draw 2 cards, which you can use Baylings to dodge Ash with that, and you can also get a card like Jack Jaguar or Foxy or Salamangreat or Falco or Salamangreat Spinny or Falco all in the graveyard because I think Salamangreat Mole also has that effect in the graveyard. Like, there's just so many great interactions Flame Buffalo has. This is a must of 3. If you see a deck profile without 3 of this, if it, you know, don't really, I wouldn't recommend it. And if it did do something well at an event, or if it did top an event, I would just kind of ask what the matchups were, because, you know, no Flame Buffalo and Salamangreat would beat, like, you know, Magispectors, Synchron, Crystal Beasts before they get their new structure deck and Ice Barriers, right? But it probably wouldn't beat the last deck we just took a look at. It wouldn't beat, like, even DDD, Dark Lord Despia, Mystic Mind. Like, you got to be running Flame Buffalo because it's such a fantastic starter card. But anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. 3 copies of Ash Blossom of Joyous Springs, 3 Effect Veiler, and 3 Infinite Impermanents. Once again, this is the hand trap lineup we're seeing. It's just a phenomenal hand trap lineup. I don't need to go into it again. 1 copy of Call by the Grave, 3 copies of Salamangreat Circle, 1 copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary, 3 copies of Will of Salamangreat, 3 copies of Sign It Mining. So it's a lot of search power here. We're running 3 Sign It Mining, 3 Circle, and 2 Pot of Desires. So it's a lot. It's a lot of draw power with Flame Buffalo. There's a lot of searching with Circle and Sign It Mining. There's a lot that they can we can do here with this Salamangreat deck list. They are running 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, whose interaction in Salamangreat is insane because of the graveyard effects of literally this entire top row except Gazelle. But Gazelle also, isn't that crazy? Like, you play Forbidden Droplets, and on your opponent's level 8 Synchro Monster for Sword Soul, and they're Baron, pitching Salamangreat Spinny and Salamangreat Foxy. Their monsters can't respond. Their monsters are negated, and then chain Gazelle. And then you summon out a Gazelle after you've played Forbidden Droplets. Absolutely insane. Such a good card, we actually decided to look at it. No, but I understand it's a $50 card, but its interaction in Salamangreat is actually better than it is in most decks. There's something I wanted to mention. 1 copy of Rage, 1 copy of Roar. This is just the tale as old as time. You run 2 Rage, 2 Roar, 2 Roar, or 1 Rage, 1 Roar. I've seen both have forms of success, so I think it's just up to your personal preference, really. It's not like Lady Debug versus Flame Buffalo, where it's obviously Flame Buffalo. It's like some people run 2, some people run 1. I think in my most recent list, I was running 2, leaning more towards the stun version of it. Obviously this deck can go second pretty well with cards like Droplets, Desires, Imperm, Veilers, and Ash. But it still can do Salamangreat things. For the extra deck, we are seeing 3 copies of Bailings, 3 copies of Sunlight Wolf, and then 1 copy of Decode Talker Heatsoul, 1 copy of Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and then 1 copy of the Arrival Cyverse Attic Nister. So, you should know what this card does. But this card's interaction in Salamangreat is actually quite interesting. Now, how are we making this card? We could probably make this card, because it says 3 monsters with different attributes, right? And they're all fire monsters, right? So, there's obviously the whole Splash Mage Transcode Talker interaction, right? Where Transcode, is a earth. Splash Mage is a water. So we can use this guy or girl to bring back Splash Mage. Splash Mage can obviously use this effect. I think this is negate its effects. This is a hard once per turn, right? Okay. So you bring out Splash Mage. You bring out another Salamangreat monster with Splash Mage's effect. You use Transcode Talker to bring back. You use those 2 to make Transcode Talker. Use Transcode Talker effect to bring back out Splash Mage, and then you use Foxy, Falco, Spinny, or Jaguar's effect to bring them out. And all of a sudden, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we can use this for 3, we can use this for 2, and we can use one of our monsters for the 6th material on the Arrival Attic Nister, and all of a sudden, we have a 3k bid stick that's unaffected by other card effects, right? And we get the Ignister token, which is a Cyberse monster. I don't believe we can use that. We can use that to make Baylings, actually. I almost misspoke there. We can use it to make Heatsoul. We can use it to make Update Jammer. We can use it to make... I don't think we can use it to make Access Code. We cannot use it to make Access Code. But the point that I'm just trying to make here is that this card actually has a lot of really solid interaction points with Salamangreat, and I've been meaning to try it out just to see how good this card is in Salamangreat. I just haven't gotten to it yet, and I'm glad someone else did it for me, so now I know that, yes, in fact, this deck can work. This deck can do well. Like I was talking about before, number 41, I said 81, dang it. Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, 1 copy of Mirage Stalio, and I just kind of talked about the whole Access Code lineup. We can still do Access Code things, obviously. Pretty standard extra deck, other than, of course, the Arrival. For the side deck, 3 copies of Ibli. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You're probably going to have to listen to... You're probably going to have to listen to the video. I actually legitimately have no idea what we're doing with this card. And why it's going second. I have no idea. There's probably an interaction that I'm just missing. But I don't know why going. I mean, I guess it's not going first is probably when you bring this card in, right? And maybe because you can't use it to make Sunlight Wolf. You can use it to make Heat Soul though. So maybe you summon this card out next to Sunlight Wolf. You use Heat Soul's effects, but this deck really relies on its normal summon. So I'm not sure how we're getting this card out, to be honest with you. But I think that's the interaction, is that if you use Ibli and Wolf to make Heat Soul, all of a sudden our opponent's got this Ibli sitting on their side of the field, and they're in a really rough spot. 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being, a really good side deck card. 3 copies of Twin Twisters, fantastic going second card as well. I actually like Twin Twisters better than Cosmic Cyclone, because you can't really find a lot of spots where Cosmic Cyclone's significantly better than Twin Twisters, but you can find a lot of spots where Twin Twisters is better than Cosmic Cyclone. On top of that, the discard cost, just like Droplets, just like Flame Buffalo, we don't really care about in Salamangreat. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. Also, this is super budget. Like, this side deck is super budget. We got, a Dark Ruler No More. I mean, the Primal Being's expensive. Obviously, Access Code Talker and the Droplets are expensive, but Salamangreat in and of itself isn't that expensive of a deck. And if you already have staples like Nibiru, Droplet, and Ash, the remaining cards in this aren't that expensive. Because we are seeing 3 copies of Foolish Return, which did randomly see a spike after the YCS. This is just a fantastic card, though. Some players are still running DPE. This card can out that. It's really good against Eldritch. Pretty good against Sword Soul. And you can get rid of the Despia target, so they can't activate, I believe, Branded in red and Branded Despia. But let me know what you guys think. This is Salamangreat Arrival. Make sure you guys check out these YouTube videos to see what these people think. Obviously, like I said, the last one was in Spanish, but that's okay. Make sure you guys click that like button to show your support for the channel. Subscribe for even more content. But most importantly of all, have a good day.